Hi guys, Omar with Overlanding Just Cause, and I want to go over 3 camping hacks, especially if you're new, if you're a beginner camper, you're starting to get into overlanding and things like that. 3 tips that will help you out. Let's right off the bat go with tip number 1. Once you receive your tent, whether it's a ground tent or a rooftop tent or whatever it is that you have that you decide to use, put it up in your yard first. Learn how it works, learn how much space is going to take so that when you get to camp, you have an idea of where you want to place it, right? If it's a ground tent, obviously, if it's a rooftop tent, you still want to know how to open it up and kind of get everything set up, because the worst thing that you want to happen is, let's say you do have a rooftop tent, you get to camp, you've never set it up before, you go to open it up, and now let's say, let's put the scenario in that it's raining or that it's nighttime, the kids are crying, whatever the case is, worst case scenario, you want to be able to open that thing up and set it up in no time. It doesn't have to be instant, right? An instant pop-up tent, or a rooftop tent that you just unclick the latch and it opens up and you're ready to go. But even if that's the case, you still want to know how to put it up, how fast it's going to take, what you need to do, what steps you need to take, right? Step 1, step 2, step 3. In the case of a ground tent, you want to know how much space it's going to take on the ground so that when you get to camp, you can find a nice flat area. Another little pro tip is always have a tarp to protect the bottom of the tent. The bottom of the tent is made of a thicker material that's obviously going to keep from easily puncturing. It will puncture through with rocks, but by having a tarp, it'll keep things cleaner inside the tent, and it'll protect the bottom if you are on a rocky surface. So I am out camping with my brother and sister-in-law, and they have this really cool north face tent. This thing is huge. The tent part is up here. This is like a little vestibule, right? A little staging area. It took them probably an hour and a half to set this up, reading instructions, because they'd never set it up before. This was their first time. I actually got that tip from yesterday's setup. But again, any kind of equipment, always set it up at the house. Make sure it works. Make sure it's what you expect it to be out here in the woods. Tip or hack number 2 is to have some kind of coverage, whether it's a 180 or 270 freestanding awning that you see on trailers, that you see on overlanding rigs. It doesn't matter. These things are super simple to set up. I think personally they're worth the money. They are on the pricier side. So this is an LT, which is the smaller version of their OVS, the OVS 270 awning, and this thing sets up in a matter of seconds, right? I love it. It's durable. It's freestanding. There's no wind out here, no strong winds, so I'm not going to put the poles down. But I love this thing, and yeah, that's my go-to. But on my GX, I didn't want to put an awning on the side of it. So what I ended up doing is I bought this, just this awning, this tarp, right? And I did forget the tent poles this running, but I kind of did a little makeshift, some tie down rope around trees, did a little trucker's hitch, knots, all that cool stuff. And yeah, I have it set up. Now, it does sag, so I had to improvise and grab a nice long stick that I found in the middle of the woods. And if you notice, I don't want to tear into the fabric, so I put a washcloth there to protect it. But in the case of rain or just beaten down sun, you want something to protect yourself. You can also go with something like this. Now this takes a little bit more room, but it's super simple to set up. My brother-in-law and it's his, and we literally pulled it out and set it up in a matter of maybe less than a minute, maybe a minute and a half, and it gives you a lot of coverage. The only bad thing about this is that it does take up a lot of space. It is heavy. He has that big old truck right there, so he's able to throw stuff in the back of the truck, but this thing has come in handy. We just put this up this morning, but last night we had the 270 awning cooking underneath there, and us kind of hanging out once it started raining underneath there. This cost 30 bucks, and tent poles probably another maybe 40 bucks. So altogether less than $100, you have a nice setup that you can place on your passenger side, your driver's side, behind the tailgate. You could put it off the vehicle if you want, that's fine. But there's a lot of versatility with this kind. The 270 awning, yeah, you're gonna have to either get a 270 passenger side, a 270 driver's side, or just get a 180 and you could put it on either side. But it's very limited because you only have that space. You need to be near the vehicle or the trailer. And in this case, you go heavier and you could put this up wherever you want. This is a little pricier. And in my little tip, this is a smaller tip. Tip number 3 is to get a portable speaker. Now, I get it. Some of you guys want to go out into the wilderness and listen to the birds and chirping and all that good stuff, but every once in a while it's nice to listen to some music out here. So yeah, that's my tip number 3. I got this on Amazon. It's waterproof. It stays in the case. There's little holes right here that you can see. They come in handy, and it's good for a party. That's 3 tips, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.